On Two Wheels this week, Jeff rides the very latest Honda Fireblade. And we look at some incredible machines with Wayne at this year's Rock and Blues Custom Show. And Richard Hammond meets some more characters at an Oulton Park track day.
Honda's Fireblade, top sports bike for so long. But recently, some would say Yamaha's R1 has toppled it. So can this, the 2000 version, with more power and less weight, can it still cut it? Talking about cutting edge, if you think of the early blade as a cutthroat razor, this is a safety razor. It's still as sharp, if not sharper, but much safer in the way it does its job. It needs respect, but works with you, not against you. So what makes this so different from previous blades? Well, for a start off, the front wheel. It's a 17-incher. All previous blades have been 16 inches. Now that was very fashionable in 1992, but it limits you to tyre choice, and also you can get this shopping trolley effect, you know, the shimmy on the front wheel, so you get more stability. Not only that, and you get a better tyre choice of course as well with the 17-incher. Not only that, look at the size of these discs. Now these aren't 310mm, they're not 320s, 330mm diameter discs. They're the biggest ever seen on a bike, absolutely enormous. And new Nissan 4-pot calipers to complement them. Also, you see here, the forks upside down as first time on a blade. You've seen them on the SP1, but not on a blade. But they've now got them as light as ordinary telescopic front forks, so that's why they've gone with them, but you do get more rigidity. And talking about rigidity, up on the frame here, if you can follow me, the frame twin spar looks somewhat similar, but much beefier up at the headstock, and they say it's actually 30% more rigid than the old one. But having said that, I'm going to throw this piece of grass away. Having said that, they've actually built on some flexibility in the centre. This doesn't mean it's going to hinge, but it gives some movement, some feedback back to the rider, but it's rigid where it matters up at the front end. When you come back down here, it looks as though there's a chunk of frame missing, and in effect there is. But what they've done is bolted the frame onto the back of the engine there, and also the swing arm is bolted onto the back of the engine. Really beefy, and it's massive. Talking of the swinging arm, I don't know whether you can see it from there, but it's a GP styled one, heavily braced on the other side as well. Big triangulation, really hefty, and it's longer than previous ones. This gives you better control over the rear suspension. The old principle of leverage, instead of it pattering up and down, more movement along the length. It's also allowed them to move the engine forward a bit as well. All very nice, nicely engineered package. Yes, but does it all work, you ask? Yes, it does. It's one of those bikes that feels right straight away. The suspension is on the firm side, but you can adjust it to suit you and your style. But the main thing is the bike feels right straight out of the crate. Light, but not flighty, quick to change direction, but predictable and stable. When it comes to stopping, it's 0 to 0 in no time at all. That front brake could have you on your nose in a second. Those dinner plate sized discs living up to their impressive looks. Massively powerful, but with plenty of feel. So it handles okay, but what about down in the engine room? Here, the bit that really matters to most people. It's up in capacity 929cc, and it's also up by 22 brake horsepower, so there's a lot of poke in there. They've shortened the stroke as well. That allows the engine to spin up higher, 11,500 revs peak. It's also got a titanium exhaust system. You can see them all there. And down there, it's also got a power valve, just like Yamaha have done. This is to maximise on the gas flows leaving the engine. Interestingly, they've also got another one, which you can't see, unfortunately, under the tank, because this one has got fuel injection, which is another new thing for the Fireblade. But up there, another valve, and those two valves, that one and the exhaust valve, work together to maximise airflow. And work it does, except for a slight hunting on a whiff of throttle in towns. This feels very similar to the problem I experienced with the SP1, but it's more annoying than it is a problem. It's only on a partial throttle, and this isn't a bike to run on a partial throttle for long. It likes to be worked hard and soars effortlessly through the revs right up to its 11,500 rev limit. The gearbox is Honda's best ever blade box. In fact, it's almost poetry. Gone are the clunks of old, I'm glad to say. Clutchless changes are here to stay. No more poetry, I promise you, but it was quite good, wasn't it? Anyway, sitting on the bike, you notice this bike is much slimmer than the old blades. If you remember the early blades, very bulbous. They've slimmed down the tank a lot, but taken it lower, so you've got exactly the same capacity. The reach to the bars isn't as extreme as it used to be, and the bars are a little bit higher. It's all getting very, very civilised. If I switch on the ignition here, you can hear the old fuel pump perhaps just winding up there. You've got a nice big digital display, really good. My current favourite digital displays for the Speedo, that is. On the other side, you've got an analogue rev counter, which is fine. You've got the temperature gauge and all the rest of the bits and bobs. Looking at the levers here, front brake lever is adjustable, as is the norm. The clutch lever isn't, it's cable operated, not hydraulic. You can just adjust the cable there and that's all. The mirrors aren't in fact bad for a sports bike. I'm always complaining about them, but these aren't too bad. At least you can see what's behind you. You get a little flash of elbow, but that's okay. Now down there is a brand new headlamp reflector. It's a 3 reflector system. What you've got at the moment, I've got dip beam on, but you press the old button and it lights up the outer 2 plus the centre one. You get a hell of a spread of light with that. Very, very clever. 2 more things while I'm here. If I just switch on the ignition, hear that pump again. Listen to this if you can hear it. Hear that? That's an audible repeater on the indicator. Now I think that is really good, especially around town. You can hear those indicators going if you've left them on. Another thing it's got, most important and a first for Honda, it says on the top here, HISS, that's Honda's integrated security system. In the old key there's actually a chip, so you can only use this key with this bike until started. Irrespective of the mechanics of it all, it's electronically linked to the bike. That's a good one. Oh, and there is one other thing, it's also got a clock. But listen, that's up the front end for the pilot. What about your pillion passenger? Well, back here, got the little seat squad, which we're used to, and a little grab rail to hold on to. But this one's different. It hinges up. Clever that, isn't it? Normally you lift them off. Thought it was going to fall over then. Handbook in there, and there's a fair bit of space. The tools are in there, but you'd certainly get your waterproofs in there, certainly get a U-lock, a fair bit of room for a sports bike, so not too bad at all. Here you've got a couple of little bungee hooks, and of course you'd have to use the pillion rest hangers for the rest of it, but it's not badly kitted out. But again, I still don't fancy the pillion perch. Never mind all that, you might say. Is it better than an R1? What's better in this world of hyper-performance? It does everything it was designed to do. Both bikes are virtual perfection. In pure ultimate performance terms, the R1 might just have the edge, but in the real world we ride in, there really is nothing in it. Now, it really is a well-worn cliche, but this is a case where you really do pay your money and takes your choice. This parallel example, it costs you $7,499, but at the end of the day, the final choice is really down to you.
Now, you know, some people can, explain the mysteries of life. James here can explain mysteries of life because he's from Setup. Well, we just saw
carry on,
you were
Jay.
talking to that guy with his Duke, and you were telling him things, and he was just, oh, really? That kind of moment. What do you actually do? What is the magic that you work on bikes?
Engineering and passion.
Yeah.
Just to feel, found a bike in the field when I was 8. And it went from there.
It's setup that you do. That's your specialty. So you'll do it either at your premises in London or you'll do it on days like this, when you come along and set them up. What are you actually looking out for? What are you doing to people's bikes?
The balance of the bike, the way it goes into the corner, the way it comes out of the corner, and the pitch onto the front when you put the brakes on, the pitch onto the rear when you put the power on. The balance between the two when the bike goes into the corner to hold a nice sharp set.
Now, on a day like today, there's whole packs of R1s, whole gangs of blades going around. Very much straight from the shop, straight out on the track, a lot of them. Do people actually spend any time thinking about the setup, or do they just get on and off you go?
If they're good riders and they're positive-minded, yes. If they, posers. If they're posers, they just want the cans on. They don't think about suspension, but it's the first thing I've ever done.
I mean, if I came to
James does the paintwork, let's get the thing handling properly first.
If I came to you with 2 bikes, we swore. If I came to you with 2 bikes, one much better than the other, but you set up the slower one and not the faster one. I mean, in other words, how much difference does it make?
Performance. If one's quicker than the other, engine performance-wise, the handling one will always beat the quick one. If they're of the same size and one's got more tune than the other, you'll finish the race better on the set-up one than you will on the fast one.
When you're walking down the street and there's bikes parked, do you kind of walk past and suck your teeth and think, I bet he hasn't done this? Do you watch him go?
I've just got to look.
Can you tell?
That bike's been set up. Tell by the way the screws have been sorted out.
How can you tell that?
See
Which
that?
one? This blue R6?
It's the right sort of spring preload on. Now if we walk over to that one
You're
over there.
joking. You're just seeing this from...
That one hasn't been set up. That's got too much spring preload on it, so that's going to be as stiff as a board, and that will tank slap its head all over the shop. And the 1000cc is a bit.
So you actually can walk down the
If
street?
you come to see me, I could dial it out now, 10 minutes.
So you actually can walk down the street, look at bikes and say, no, that's wrong.
Yeah, I look at bums as well, though.
Yeah, well, that's good as well. No, that's important. So you are, in fact, amongst the most smug people on the planet, then? Because how do you know all this stuff?
No,
then,
I've got to
James?
keep learning. That's why I work with James, because you've got to stay at the sharp end all the time.
But how do you know all this?
I've been racing 26 years. I raced sometimes with James. I picked up racing in 1985. Big marriage bust up. And got back to bikes. And I love it. I don't know why I ever left. She got me wrong. I got myself right again.
Excellent. You are a man in his element. That much is absolutely obvious.
I love it.
Just give us one tip. So, say we have got our R1, our R6, our Blade in the garage, whatever. We're going out for a Sunday morning, scratch around the back lanes. Is the one simple thing that we can go into the garage now?
Your tyre pressures. Get them right. The morning, not the night before. The morning, because the bar pressure goes up and down like a yo-yo. Temperatures go up and down. So just before you go, cold tyres, tyre pressures. Last night's tyre pressure could be pound up and down.
And that's your absolute number one
Once
tip.
the bike's been set up, the best thing you can do to get your tyres in good nick is the tyre pressures.
Brilliant. James, pleasure talking to you. You've got a queue of people here who are going to come in and get themselves sorted out.
Get the telephone number, then give us a shout.
If you want your bike setting up.
And do accents as well.
Now, some people just arrive on whatever they've got and they go straight out on the track. Other people bring race bikes. Other people bring kind of halfway in between. Mike, we've got you Spanner in here. Now, I know you are riding as well, as you're quick to point out this is your bike.
Yeah.
To what level have you taken it with this? Because this looks actually fairly serious.
Well, basically, it's just a standard road bike, and all I've done is put an aftermarket body kit on it, so that if you do fall off, it's a cheaper alternative.
So it's the same thing. We've heard people who've been putting bits from scrapyards on, but you've got a nice, pretty bike.
Yes.
Yours looks very nice.
It wasn't last time. It was all sorts of colours last time, but yeah, it starts getting a bit serious after you've done it for a while.
I was going to say, some people are it's getting pretty competitive out there. Some people put a fair bit into this.
I'm seriously considering going racing after I've done all this. Yeah.
Really? You think this might be something that will lead you on to...
Yeah, I just like the competitive spirit in it all. It's really good fun.
The one thing that would maybe put people off is if you have never done one of these, how competitive is it? You know, are you going to get somebody right up your backside in an R1 as you trundle around on your RGV?
These guys who run these now are very safety conscious. I mean, they now run them with 3 groups, and basically if they see somebody in a slower group who's going far too quick, they'll pull you out and put you in a faster group. They're getting more and more safety conscious. I've never heard of any really bad accidents, but it's very easy to frighten somebody who's never experienced somebody going past them very quickly.
So when you're around there on the back straight then and we can't see you, there's no kind of elbowing and nudging?
No.
None of that contact sports stuff?
No.
Okay, well, where will we see you then when you're competing? Are you going to be moving into racing?
Yeah, I'll probably clubman level it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Good for you. You're going to get out there today?
Yeah, that's why I'm changing these over. A bit more grip.
Yeah, I would. Do you know I forgot my helmet?
We've got a spare.
Yeah, I've got a very
But I haven't got a
strange shaped head. And, I have. It's this lump here, so it wouldn't fit. But you know, that's nice.
We'll have a
I
go.
might get it sent along before the weather changes. Have fun out there, and all the best in your career.
All right.
Do you know, despite the rain, I'm actually getting into it now. We've met some of the people who are taking part. We've spoken to a world-class racer, and we've met the guy who can set up your bike. Aprilia has said there is actually a 250 waiting for me, so I can have a go. So it's time for me to get out there and look at that. I've got to meet it. I've got to go.
Well, nobody would blame Richard for not bothering on a day like this. And after the break, Wayne's at this year's Rock and Blues Custom Show.
Now this won't be the first time on 2 wheels you've seen me walking around a tented village. Might be the first time you've seen me walking around a tented village without some alcohol inside me, as at the BMF only recently. But the reason I'm here is because this is the Rock and Blues Festival, the Rock and Blues Custom Show. And that's exactly why I'm here, to have a look at some beautiful custom bikes. So are about 10,000 other people. It is absolutely heaving, and this is only early doors. This show goes on for the whole of the weekend, and I imagine it gets a little noisy and riotous because we've got bands on, bungee jumping, people obviously having barbies and quiet chats amongst themselves. I imagine and all. But the fact is, I met a guy only a week ago, and he said to me, if you find me, I'll buy you a pint. You won't miss me, I'm in a green tent. Aye, some flaming open hall, a green tent. Yeah, it's just my flaming luck. Somebody offers to buy me a drink. It's not often people offer to buy me a drink. I usually have to buy my own, and I can't even find him. Oh. Tell you what, you look harmless. Oh, you don't have to give me the horn, love. Whoa, whoa, come here a minute, come here a minute. You know you lads out there and you buy yourself a couple of £100 worth of helmet and then you go and have £200 worth of paint job on it. You go to the pub and you show your mates and they say, you must be mad spending all that money. Let me just show you this. You see this helmet here? This is £800 worth for the helmet and £1,000 worth of paint job. That's £1,800, is that right, madam? £1,800 to buy that. Let me just have a little look. No, I'll just leave it this week. I'll come and see you next week. Do not touch. Whoops. Ah, at last a customised bike, because that's what I've been looking for. I've walked flaming miles to find a custom bike, because this show does involve customised machines, and there is apparently a tent somewhere that shows all the customised bike stuff, and I can't find it. I've no idea where it is. What? What's up? Custom show. Ah, I knew that. I knew that already, don't worry yourself. I could see it. You think I'm stupid or something? Harley Davidsons, well, you either love them or hate them. If you're a sports bike rider, usually you dislike them. If you're a cruiser, you usually like them and you desire one. And I tell you what, this is decidedly desirable. I mean, check them front forks out. Awesome, upside down forks on a Harley Davidson. Not normally seen. Check the carburettors out. Whoa, what a lovely pair. Big pair at that. Will you just come away from those big pair of carburettors and have a look at this? This is a rarity. Well, I've certainly never seen it before. That is a single-sided swinging arm on a Harley Davidson. Beautifully piece of engineering, that is. Engineering is not the only thing they do, they paint them beautifully as well. Look at that for a nice bit of paintwork and polished alloy. And I mean, look at this on the tank. Ooh, ooh, suits you, sir. Suits me indeed. Some serious work gone into these and they've been created by the Classic and Custom shop in Chesterfield. Beautiful job they've done. They brought them along to sell as well, so you can actually buy them, assuming you've got plenty of wonga. Well, let's go back to this, the polishing on this. There's some lovely polishing, and it's a bit dirty at the moment because it's been used, but I don't mind, as long as I can see myself in that bit of polished alloy. Oi, come up here, just let me show you this. 3 wheels, and on 2 wheels of recent, we've done an awful lot of 3 wheels, various different types of trike, most of which, like this, have had a motorcycle engine as their donor power unit, in this case an XS 1100 Yamaha. But you could always, like this, use a car engine, and in this case it's a 4-cylinder Reliant engine, and if 4 cylinders are not enough, double it, and what do you end up with? Like that over there, a V8. V8, 3.5 litre Rover engine, and if that's not enough for you, I suppose you could always just stick on a Rolls-Royce jet engine. I'd love to see the logbook. Now, there's no question about it, this is what I would term as a work of art. And, just so nobody pinches it, it's got an anti-theft device. Didn't hurt me, didn't hurt me. But you know what spoils it? The tax discs. Wouldn't you think the government would do some colour coordinated tax discs? As always at these bike gatherings, there's always people selling all sorts of kit, so you can buy it all. Oh, madam, nice bit of PVC. Wouldn't suit me, but I bet it'll look lovely on Paul. But the truth is, not only do you have to come here, you could actually go to a website, because we're in the 21st century, and yes, everybody's clicking on the keyboards and going into the web. And Biker's Web is a new thing, and lo and behold, we have Matt here, who's the photographer, who refuses to take a picture of me. I can't imagine why, perhaps he's afraid of breaking his camera. Yeah, and the idea of Matt taking the pictures of some beautiful custom bikes is to throw them on the website, you click on the one you think is best, and you could win this trophy that Sarah's holding here, a lovely trophy, of which, to be honest with you, would look lovely on my mantelpiece. Obviously, not going on my mantelpiece, you're not just, no, you're not, are you? All right, well, fair enough. Yeah, thanks very much. Now, it's very true to say that some traditionalists out there were deeply disturbed when Triumph were relaunched and they went and did 3-cylinder machines with loads of plastic and fairings all over it. That was terrible. Triumph owners were used to twin cylinders and they were used to chrome everywhere. What would Triumph owners think of this? Nice, smooth curves are often known as beautiful, and there's no question about it, this is beautiful, but someone has stolen the engine. But don't worry yourself, because there's one in the boot. But just come over here now, you see, because if you want to take your missus in your machine, where would you carry her, eh? No, come here, you fool, not in the box. On the back seat here. But sorry, no fat chicks allowed. Right, that's your lot then, from the Rock and Blues Custom Show. And I tell you what, there's some very, very smart machines on display. And some nice people as well. Just a matter of a minute ago, I was sat on a machine and a fella came up to me and says, if you don't get off that bike, he would customise me. What a nice chap.
On Two Wheels next week, Jeff takes a ride in a Ural sidecar outfit. And I go to visit a trial school where the head teacher is none other than world champion Dougie Lampkin.